Hey, Will, I want to say thank you for coming on the podcast, Necessity versus Commodity. As you know, I talk with business owners, entrepreneurs, employees, sales reps, setters, people that often are viewed from others from a point of view of, hey, I've got 20 options over here, but I bring people onto my podcast that you are the only option if someone's looking at filling a role for you, whether hire you as an employee or a coach or something like that. And so I want to introduce you because I've seen you around for, gosh, probably a year, following you on social media. I see your posts. You have so much amazing content out there. You've been a setter for businesses out there and helping them grow and scale their businesses. And through us connecting through multiple networks, kind of bouncing comments off each other, you've really impressed me. And so when did you first get into like the remote online space?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me on, Scott. It really means a lot. And it's great to be connected on here. In terms of how I got into the remote space, man, we're going back a couple years. I got into the space in January of 2021. Now, to give some context, I was a sophomore in college at the time. It was the height of COVID. I wasn't really doing much. I was kind of just sitting around in my dorm room, being like, all right, I got to do something with my time here, right?
Keep your mind busy and happy.
Keep myself busy, exactly. So, I got into the space back then. Saw some, advertisements and marketing for the space, and I was like, this looks pretty interesting. Let's see what this entails. So, when I first got in, I checked it out, and as I continued learning and connecting with people, I came across, our friend JD Daly and his free
amazing guy.
Amazing guy.
Yep.
So I saw some of his content. He went live in there, and I was like, this is the type of person I want to learn from. I can already tell he has integrity. He's genuine. He has experience. He's the ideal mentor, the ideal person to learn from when it comes to getting into the remote space and having a sustainable career in it. So I connected with him and his, team, and came up, joined the mastermind that he has, so graciously put together for the last couple of years, and has helped, dozens, if not hundreds of people. And then from there, after learning, from him and getting connected with other people, I started as a setter, like you mentioned. I was with a consulting agency in the sponsorship industry. So they were helping individuals out with their sponsorship packages. And they're kind of like a big name in the space. So I was hopping on calls with people, learning their situation. And then from there, if they were a good fit, I set them up with an advisor on the team. And I was actually able to become the top setter there. I tied for the record of 7 sets in a day there.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
How quickly did it take you to get to that point?
Yeah. So I think it took 2-3 weeks. I just hopped on, kind of just learned the process, did a little bit of seeing how I can, put my own spin on things, do a little bit of innovation, and through some great advice and some optimization, I was able to get to that, 7 sets.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah, of course.
So were you shocked that you hit the top of the leaderboard that quick?
I was pretty shocked. Yeah.
Why were you shocked?
Because, I was just getting started, and, I did some other interviews before that role, but when I finally landed the role, I was like, all right, I got to go all in here, so I was doing 12, 13-hour days on the role, was having daily meetings with the team, but I was man, this is such an accomplishment for me. I was so happy, but
and that really is. And to do 7 in a day, you and I both know, and you've been in the industry long enough. I mean, that's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
And to be successful with it, to have good sets. Anybody can set garbage, right?
Yeah.
But to have really good sets of people that are actually going to close, people that are actually ability to move forward. But the reason why I asked if you were shocked, because I figured your answer was going to be yes. But you said one super good gold nugget right there. And I don't think, and I hope anybody listening to this actually picks up on it. You said, hey, I hopped on the call, on the coaching calls. I followed the process.
Yep.
Oh, weird. You follow a process and you get a good result. Right. But still you were shocked because so many people out there don't have a process to follow. And if they do, they oftentimes don't follow it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing if I go back to my fitness days and coaching people for health and wellness. Same thing, open and managing a business. Same thing, helping clients like build marketing and lead generation. Like there are all these systems that can be very successful. Lots of times people try to do things on their own or don't follow, it falls apart. So why do you think the system worked for you to go from relatively new to so successful?
Yeah, so I just took the advice. I just wanted to be coachable and be able to just hop on and put in the effort. So, like you said, just, coming on, following the process and being able to be like, all right, let's put ego aside. Let's be humble. Let's learn from the people already on the team and take their feedback as they come and go. So what I did was I hopped on. They're like, hey, we got some calls you can listen to. Check out some of our advisor calls, check out some calls from, other setters on the team. It's going to really help you out. And I spent the first 4 or 5 days just onboarding and learning all of that. And then from there, I just tried to apply it as best I could, took their advice and just immediately go and apply it. And actually, to be honest, what happened at first was, so they had the kind of the standard KPI of like, all right, I want you to do 100 outbounds today. 100 dials, 100 emails, texts, all that. So it's kind of standard for a setter. But from there, what happened was I wasn't hitting that. I was around like 40 or 50 a day. And I was like, all right, so I need to do better here. I'm not sure what to do. Through just, my network and connecting with people outside of the role, I came across, I ended up on a call with some people and they're like, something that you should try out since you're trying to do all this high volume dials and outreach, try getting some like software to help you out with that. So they recommended that I get some hotkey software to, put in some outlines and templates and have things ready to go. And man, I can't tell you how much that helped me. It completely optimized my, my system and being able to just run through everything. So when I actually got the people that picked up the phone and just from the first couple of minutes of talking to them, getting an idea of like, okay, this person's qualified. Let's just make sure and ask these follow-up triage questions. That's what allowed me to get to that point of 7 in a day. Just following the process and then innovating based on, additional feedback.
I love hearing that. As business owner myself, if I was talking to a setter and you're telling me that story, okay, I've heard pretty much enough at this point. I've made a really good choice. I would love to have you on the team just for that piece. Again, that's one of the things that separate you're personally from an additional setter. Like you're trying to become innovative. How can I double my output? Like most people are like, oh, well, I just can't do this, right? Like it's very tough sometimes when being a setter. Sometimes your job is being the front end marketing, is being the cold outreach. And a lot of people don't have that skill. It's not just getting someone on the phone and asking questions. Like it varies oftentimes what the mindset of some people is. Now, if we're going to fast forward to, I guess, over the last couple of years to where we are today, are you on 1 offer, 2 offers, 3 offers? What does your day look like right now?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So right now I'm on another setting offer. I just onboarded with them a couple weeks back, and it's been great. It's a great team. They have great fulfillment, and it's given me that opportunity again to be a little bit entrepreneurial and get into the nitty gritty of things. But at the same time, as I continue improving my process, learning from them, getting feedback, being able to hop on the phones with great people. And yes, that was when I was on that last offer. That was actually the summer of 2021, and it's 2023. So you might be wondering what I've done for 2 years. So what happened was through networking and first off, like that was a great offer I was on. I really enjoyed it. Yep. But since I was still in college, I had to go back to school, so I couldn't stay full time in the role. So I departed ways with them on good terms. Really appreciated their time. They're giving me the opportunity and experience. We left on good terms and everything. But what happened though was in the span of the last year and a half, I connected with people in my network, and they were like, "Hey, we're actually getting to the recruiting side of the industry. Want to do some projects with us and see what it entails?" I was like, "Okay, great." So we did some projects. One of them was actually a part of the Undeniable Closer Mastermind as well. And him and I actually, through networking and through different experiences, we were able to acquire a Facebook group with around 8,000 members.
Wow.
From that though, we were like, all right, let's see how we can help these people out and just try to continue using these networking strategies, see what recruiting based projects we can do, that sort of thing. We're still figuring out how we can utilize that now, but in the last year and a half, we've been able to, when we acquired it from 6,000 people, we have about 16,000 people in that group now. So we're seeing what we can do with it, but it's just about providing value and having that integrity, right? That's the most important factor. So we were doing some projects there. And then we actually, he got a position at a really prestigious staffing and recruiting agency in the space. And last April, not this April of 2022, he was like, hey, we'd love to bring you on board. Your team here's great. I think you'd be a great fit. So I was recruiting with them from April of last year until this past January, when we also parted on good terms and had a great experience and all that. So I was recruiting for about a year and a half, and I still am. We're that individual and I are now business partners.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Very small boutique staffing agency we got, but we're excited to see what value we can bring to the space. So I was doing recruiting, and now that I've graduated university and I'm in this space full time, I've decided now to get back in the sales side of things, seeing how I can provide that value, like you're saying, being undeniable and being an asset to any business you come across, for a varying number of reasons. That's where I am now, and so I'm doing both recruiting and sales, and I've had a very fortunate experience the last 2 years in the space.
I love it. Yeah, and you've done very well for yourself, and that speaks volume to who you are. Number one, you're going to college. I'm assuming you didn't go to college to learn how to be a remote setter, remote closer. And so there was obviously a pivot there in life, but there was something there and attracted you to it. The one thing, you being a setter for a couple of years, in this industry, I think the perception's changing a little bit, that setters are kind of like that forgotten kid, right? Like it's kind of like a throwaway position.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of bad offers have turned that, because you and I both know we'll see posts out, hey, I'm looking for 5 setters to join my team. You have a potential of making 50K a month and blah, blah, blah. And they don't care about you. They're really just care, hey, we're going to bring 5 to 10 people on this month. You're going to just cold call and cold message a bunch of people. We don't expect much of anything to happen. We're essentially bringing you on for free, knowing you're going to quit in 3 weeks to 6 weeks, and we'll probably have paid you zero money because you haven't made a single thing, but you've helped us organically spread our word of mouth, which as a previous business owner, like, wow, to me, I think that damages reputations. And I've checked some people off my list because that's their process. I think setting's just as important as the closer role, and just as important as your front end messaging and marketing. Because if any one of them fails, good luck. For the business isn't going to be bringing any new clients, revenue is going to tank, all those type of key metrics to kind of gauge there. So what attracted you to be a setter and stick with it that long? Because so many people are like, okay, I'm going to set for 2 weeks, show them what I got, and then I'm going to be a closer, right? Like that's like the whole thing. But I see a lot of people that hey, my skill set is really for a closer. My skill set's really for marketing. My skill set's really for networking or setting. So what do you like about the setting portion?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say the reason, I'm back setting again after, quite a hiatus and everything, is because, it's like I had such a great experience in that previous offer. It just it challenged myself to do those outbounds and being able to connect with those individuals. And like you said, even though setters, really sometimes get a bad rap, and are not treated with the same, identity as a closer or advisor or something like that, they are important, because coming in with the mindset that setters are the ones that are closing the closing call. So they are triaging. They're kind of like the first base after marketing. So if you're good on a good role, if you're on a good offer, they have marketing in place. They have good lead flow in place, not necessarily all inbound, but they have the lead flow and they have the marketing in place So sales reps are able to go onto the offer and perform and do their duties, do their job. So setters are able to reach out to those prospects, reach out to those leads, and give them that first impression of like, hey, this is who we are. Let's make sure you're a good fit. And I've really enjoyed that. It's because it's just been challenging. And also I've seen and heard that, eventually I think I do want to get into the closing side of things, because I feel like being able to have a deeper level conversation, asking good questions, navigating through discovery, understanding their pain points and really getting to the core of why they're looking for a change. That seems really fulfilling to me. But I've heard that by having some setting experience and experiencing that triage on a, that first level, it will be valuable experience in the close. So, as you and I know, we both have mentors and people on our network that say you don't have to start as a setter. You can get in the closing. And there are some closing opportunities that people are only making $3K and setting opportunities where people are making 15. So it's just different roles, and there isn't a hierarchy there. But setting can help you become a better closer. And that's what's been appealing to me.
Agreed. And, you'll have a lot of business owners out there. Same thing with some sales coaches, talk about, hey, because I was in fitness for 20 years, had my own business. Oh, geez, like, hey, we love people who've sold fitness before or worked in gyms before, because as a sales individual for fitness roles, there was a lot of smiling and dialing, right? That the cliche, let's use horrible sales cliches and use smiling and dialing, that you did a lot of that part for the setting, and to where the remote space, like some of the sales reps out there are, hey, if no one's on my calendar, I'm not doing anything. Right. And so having a setter or someone in fitness, someone that does that front part in case you need to go out, make a call, make some outreach, those become really important. And you did bring up a really good point there of whether you're looking for a setter position, a closer position, the offer is really the key point of whether you're going to be successful, because you're right. There's closers out there that are making $3,000-$4,000, and they chose to be a closer because they felt like, hey, either that status of the closer role, or hey, I'm gonna be able to make more money here. But as a setter, there's people out there making 10 to 15K setting, and it really is the offer. And the front end marketing piece is really, really key. And that's the difference of like where the setter position has kind of been really, I guess, kind of beaten down, is because a lot of people have a really brand new offer, unproven offer. They're business owners that I believe are unethical, whatever the things may be.
Yeah.
Of, hey, I'm putting a setter in to solve my problems. Putting a setter in a business doesn't solve a problem. Putting a closer in doesn't solve a problem. Putting a setter and a closer in a business doesn't solve its revenue problems. It comes from the upfront, right? Like you and me walking into Tony Robbins. He's got 20 plus years of building his brand. How difficult is it to talk to people about purchasing something at Tony Robbins? Pretty easy. Now, someone that nobody knows about has a generic offer. Hey, get rid of your dad bod. That's a hard sell if you're not doing things up front. You brought up thinking about getting into closing. What's making you think about taking that step with your career? Because I do agree with you. Being a setter, it's going to make your skill set as a closer a lot more powerful. So why kind of move roles or have that be part of the plan?
Yeah. So, just in terms of the setting, like, I've been able to, have great experiences with challenging myself with the rejection of side of things, like you said, smiling and dialing. Sometimes you're just dialing all day and get nothing. And sometimes you get a pickup and you're like, hey, like you start the process and like, nope, and like hang up. So, it's just such a variety of experiences of being as a setter. You can, face rejection with a good mentality. You're able to, navigate things on a higher level, to, triage them, understand their situation and qualify them. And then from there, if they're a good fit moving forward. But in terms of closing, I mean, it's just like you get to have, setting's the first aspect. closing is the deeper level. You actually get to have those, deep conversations, 30 to 45 minutes, if not an hour. You get to really get to know the person, their background, who they are, what they're struggling with, what they want. And then from there, through good questioning and coming from a place of integrity and being genuine, you're able to then help them navigate the next best steps forward. And if it's a good fit and everything makes sense, then they can become a client of the business. So that's just appealing, and I appreciate the kind words of, hey, it's great you've done setting, and that'll help you do closing, in a different way. But that's the appeal factor for me, there.
You said something really interesting there, which is one of the reasons why, because I'll always be a coach at heart, right? I love helping people. I love coaching people. I'll always do that for the rest of my life. I think coaching and consulting is one of the most rewarding things you can do.
It really is.
It's also a reason why I like doing sales too. Because you hit a unique part is doing that closing call. You get to connect with that person deeper.
Yep.
And that, to me, that is something that's really important, and I see where so many setters and closers out there isn't a connection there.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of sales that are missed because of that. Now there's a fine line between, hey, getting buddy with somebody on a sales call, but connecting with somebody, and you have that ability to connect with people pretty quickly.
Appreciate
And
that.
I've seen that, I've noticed that, and I think it's going to help you tremendously. But having that true integrity and care, it's one thing. One of the sales reps who's kind of relatively new, I was kind of going through some coaching with him last week, and the big thing that I said is, I look at the person on the other side of the Zoom call kind of two different ways. Number one, I always picture, like, if someone was talking to my mom, how would I want them treating her?
Yeah.
And so I go in with a mindset like that. The other mindset is, if I'm sitting across a table with my best friend and he's telling me he's going to commit suicide, or maybe he just slammed a bottle of tequila and told me he was going to go hop in his car and drive away, I'm not going to let you do that, right? Having a real conversation with the person to figure out where are they currently. And I've done fitness in the past. A lot of the stuff I've done recently is more business to business, lead generation, marketing, those type of things. But you're solving a problem either way, and figuring out, hey, let me really look at your business here. What is going on with your ad? What is going on with the messaging? What is going on with the process? Why are you failing and not getting where you want? Because there are a million people out there to go to, and sadly, there's a lot of really, really bad options to go to, and people get burned a lot in the back. And so having some of those conversations that are more open, honest, transparent, and saying this is, to really be able to say, hey, Will, like, our system's not best for you. Now, one of the offers I was on last year, multiple times a week, I would tell someone, I'm bummed because I love what you do. I love your offer. I love what you're doing with your business. Our offer is not going to fit. It just isn't going to work out. You can give me 20K right now. That's completely fine. In 3 to 6 months, I don't think you could have an ROI on it.
Yep.
And that doesn't make sense for you. And that 3 to 6 months, now 6 months from now, yeah, maybe the 20K is back, but you just wasted 6 months.
Yep. Right.
Like, you're better off going this route. And I wish that I had this option to sell you. We don't. So I'd go look at these two people. That to me that's more important than just collecting someone's money from them for my business, or, for me to make a commission off for the business I'm working for. It doesn't make sense. And so that was a really unique, powerful piece you put in there. And it is one of the things that, through your content, through me just watching you in group meetings, how you conduct yourself, I can tell that integrity, that care for people. And that's one thing that's going to make you a really good closer. What prevented you from making the jump so far into closing?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the kind words once again. And I totally agree. It's about having integrity, having that sense of empathy, and, coming from a place of, sleazy sales, that's an old game. That needs to be out of the way. So it needs to be
Yep.
from like you just having good conversations with people, getting to the root of everything and seeing how you can help them out. In terms of why I haven't gone to closing yet, I mean, I actually just had a great conversation with someone a couple of days ago, and he asked the same thing. He's like, man, you've been in setting for a while. I mean, just from talking with you, I think you have like a lot of the baseline skills already. Like, why have you done it? And it really made me think. I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure. He's like, do you think it might be just from like a confidence standpoint? Do you think you're gonna, what is it? I was like, that's a good point. It might be one of those things like, I feel like I need to be a setter for longer to prove myself that I can be a good closer. But he's like, man, you have the experience, you've done the work, like just go for it. I mean, as long as you're coming from that place of wanting to help people out and having good conversations, and like you said, Scott, like being able to say no to them if it's not a good fit, like, hey, like we, as much as we'd love to help you out, this is not a good fit for you. Let's figure out another option for you, and I'll point you in the right, in a better direction. Being able to do that, I mean, it really takes a good character at the core. And that's why I enjoy, this space so much. So in terms of me making that transition, I mean, I guess it's just like kind of like one of those things, like, I don't know, like I could have done it sooner but now with that reframe in mind, I'm like, okay, it's time. I want to help more people in that instance. And I think it's time to make that transition.
Well, and I'm glad you are, for just as the pure part of human growth, right? Like me coaching people, whether it be personal development, mindset, physical, coaching them through, business development, professional development, whatever it may be, at my core being, like any client that I had that was under the age of 20 years old, I always bought him the book, The Slight Edge. So whether the kid was 13, 15, 18, if he was coming through like, beginner workouts and things, I always got him that book, The Slight Edge, because it was talking about, your daily disciplines, getting better each day, and profound effect that is. And I think throughout my life, and especially the last 20 years of just personal development and business development, the times that I feel the worst, the times that I'm just not good, I'm not growing, I'm not getting better, I'm not improving. Now, you don't always have to do that on a professional side, but in my early career, every time that I would be at a gym for so long, or I worked in bars and restaurants for 10 years before that, it'd be about a year and a half, 2 years, I'd start getting really squirrely. I had to go somewhere else. Like, I've reached my pinnacle here. Okay, it's time to go somewhere else. And that's always served me really well. Being a closer and moving from a setter. So in the industry right now, lots of times they tell you can't be a closer until you're a setter, which I don't think is correct at all. Yeah. Just flat out tell you, it doesn't need to be. I think both people should try both, because I think they might feel like one is actually better.
Totally agree.
For them and their personality and what they want in life. Because being a closer, sometimes it's a little bit more stressful on, hey, why didn't you close that deal? Right? Rather than, hey, why didn't you make those 50 calls today? There's stress either way, but sometimes there's a little bit more stress and some people don't like it. Yep. Being a closer, you could right now.
Yeah, I feel like I could be a closer right now. It's just one of those things that, I mean, I'm currently on a setting offer and seeing what value I can provide there. But I feel like I if I'm on the right offer, going back to that, with good fulfillment, they have a team that's making the money that that's ideal, but doing it in a way that's actually helping people out. And they just have all the systems in place, good CRM, good conversion rate, good revenue, lead flow. If that's all in place, and I can hop on the phones and have good conversations with people, I feel like I can have good conversations and help them navigate what they're looking for.
Well, and the other part, from the very beginning of the call, you said, hey, I went from never doing any of this to hitting the top of the leaderboard by just following the process, right? Yeah. A closing role is pretty much the same. there's some different parts. You have to get really good at your presentation. I don't see you having a hard time with that. Every phone call, there's essentially always gonna be objections. So talking about that, one of the big hurdles I see lots of times, people have a hard time depending on the pricing of the offer because of their own personal limiting belief, right? Saying $50 or 50K to me is the same thing. Because a person I'm talking to on the side, the number doesn't matter. It's the value that you're going to bring and the result you're going to problem you're fixing. So that dollar amount doesn't really matter to me and saying that, but some people kind of get in their own kind of way. Now, when you started setting, you've been through this for a couple of years. What are some of the biggest things you see other setters struggle with that if you could give somebody a piece of advice to save them 6 or 12 months, what would be a piece of advice you'd give somebody?
That's a really good question. I would say similar to what a closer does, just treating them like, an individual and being able to like come from a place of like, how can I serve this person? Because sometimes like you and I were talking about earlier, sometimes with setters, it's just like, okay, do you have money? Okay, do you like, what's your current financial situation? Okay, let's get you on a closing call. It needs to be more than that. It's one of those things like you got to be able to triage a little bit. So you hop on the call, frame the call, good framework to be able to give them an idea of what's going to happen. Then from there, you ask just questions of like, like on a fitness offer, I guess you could be like, so in terms of like fitness, like what's that looking like for you right now? Like, oh, okay, I'm like, I'm working out here and there, but I just want to improve my health and feel better. All right, yeah. In terms of that, what are some ideal goals you have? And you could kind of like what a closer does, just asking good questions and getting to what they really want, but not to the same extent as what a closer is doing, because you're just trying to get to the point that they are a qualified prospect, that when they hop on the closing call, they have the ability to financially invest. It's a good fit for them, and they're willing to get the coaching and everything that, is there. So from a setter standpoint, it's kind of just like, I think I might have mentioned it earlier, you're kind of still a closer, but instead of closing the deal, you're closing the call. You're closing the ability for them to be a show up prospect on that closing call. So they actually, when they are, dialed or they're put into the calendar or whatever, they're actually going to show up and they want to be there. Because you're as a setter, you're calling people. And sometimes they forget that they put themselves into, the CRM, or they forget who you are. And it's your job to have that frontline contact, being able to remind them, hey, this is why I'm reaching out. This is a good time to speak. And then just from there. So having like the mentality of closing the call, so then the closer can close the deal, but throughout the whole process, coming from a place of how can I help this person out best? Yeah. That's I think what they can do.
And that's a very unique way of putting it, right? That you're closing this call. And I've done my, pretty much for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Well, if we go back 8, when I had my own high ticket $8,000 healing rheumatoid arthritis offer, I always did my own setting. And even the last offer I was on, I did my own setting as well. My no-show rate was always, everyone showed. So that and having the ability to, like you said, of closing that, tying it off, which is a very important piece, no different than the closing part of getting at someone to commit to take the next action, whatever that action is. So that setting call, here's the next action. You're going to commit to showing up on this date that we just set, so we can discuss further these parts of the process, because both of us are ready to move forward if we are a perfect fit. Now, lots of times too, after I tied off that first call, I gave them homework to do as well.
Yes.
Right. So it gets another piece of them taking commitment to stepping forward, and done correctly. Those type of little key tidbits can really increase the overall show up rate, number one, up front. But number two, that person now, if I would hop on that closing call with somebody, that would always ask, so I got your homework, or I didn't get it, or let's discuss those little pieces. And lots of times it was just short little videos just to educate them more on what we do and why we're such a good fit.
Yeah.
And we could have discussion real quickly about that. So I knew the buy-in was there. So now I knew they had the trust, the confidence, certainty, because I could get that out of the way right off the bat. And so that's a really important piece I think a lot of setters miss. They're so, okay, they're on the calendar, see ya, have a good life. And you just set the business and the closer up for a lot of no-shows.
Waste of time. Yeah.
And it gets frustrating. It's kind of, if you don't have a setter and you just have marketing and sales, if marketing's not on point, salespeople are going to complain about the marketing being bad. If their close rate's not good and the manager and the owners attacking them, well, the marketing's bad, then the marketers say, well, the closers are bad, and people are battling back and forth. Now you throw a setter in the middle of that. Now it's even a more thing. And so if everyone's doing their job correctly, understands the importance of getting that prospect to go through piece by piece and them knowing what the next step is and giving them enough to want to take action to go further and make that commitment, that's really the game changer of success that you oftentimes see. Looking at I really love that unique part there that, kind of talking about if somebody was just getting a setter, what to do. And I think that's a really key aspect. Now, another part that I was kind of thinking about when we were talking, just like the closing role, the setter role, you have a process in place. A lot of closers out there I see, they're reading off a script, not listening to what the person's saying, and just reading the next line like that's magically going to make them give you money, right? You have an amazing personality. You're very well spoken, outgoing. How much is your personality in your process?
Yeah, that another great question. I would say it's a big part, because going back to the idea of as a setter, you're trying to close this call, so you make sure it's a good fit for them. You make sure they're going to show up, and you make sure that it's everything makes sense. So being able, me personally, as a personality character, I really wanted to make it my priority to be an empathetic individual who comes from a place of actually wanting to help other people and growing myself while I'm doing it, growing myself each day. Have you heard of the term Kaizen? I love that term Kaizen, about each day, just 1% better, seeing what you can improve, seeing how you can stay humble, and seeing how you can take yourself to the next level. But in that, you're also not doing it just for yourself. You're making yourself better for others, not than others. It's for other people. There's only one of us. There's 8 billion other people. So it's one of those things, like, it's about others. So being able to have that character in place to want to help people, have a growth mindset, take each day one at a time, and see how you can do the best you can. I mean, that goes into the process, because with that, you're like, okay, I'm getting on this call with this individual I've never met before, but I still want to see how I can help them out. So when you get on the call, just with like a closing call, you want to set up a good framework. You want to be able to guide them through it and make sure that everything makes sense and get crucial details. And then from there, move them forward. So I would say my personality, and regardless of my personality, just those traits of wanting to help another person out, understand their situation, and communicate good with them. I mean, those are essential factors. And also another thing that came to mind a few minutes ago when you were talking about kind of like the bickering back and forth between marketing, sales, business owner. Something I've really noticed, that especially in this offer I've been working on recently, having the setter and the closer, maybe not like best friends, but having them work together to understand each other is really important. Because being able to have a setter pass off a prospect to the closer and understand, like, having the closer listen to the setter's call, look at their notes, talk with them. If there's something that they feel the setter can do to help their process out, the setter needs to be open to that, and vice versa. If there's something that, being able to understand the closers process, then you're able to be like, okay, this is what they're going to be doing on that call. How can I best navigate this call so when they get on that, it's a seamless transition? So it's a win-win for everyone.
That's a really good nugget, especially for whether you're a setter, a closer, a business owner, is that piece there, because that's going to be a game changer.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to hear you already seeing that piece and putting some of that into your career. Because actually, gosh, about a month ago, when I was talking with a business owner, coaching him through some stuff, the conversation kind of came up of having two people being the owners. I've had co-owners in the past with businesses. How do you make that relationship work? And it very much is like a marriage. It's like a romantic relationship. And I said, have you guys had the trust conversation yet? And wasn't really sure what I meant by that. I said, have you talked to that business owner? So let's say, Will, you and I, let's say we own a business together. And I think a setter and a closer should have this conversation too of, hey, Will, I want you to know that every decision that I make, I think of you first. I think of the business second, me third. And if you're thinking of me first, the business second, and you third, and we both trust each other, knowing that we go into every situation, every decision was made with that thought process, and have open communication from there going forward, you're basically unstoppable.
Yeah.
Right. And so you kind of talking about that, if the offer you're on now, if you and your closer have that direct communication, everything you're going to do for the betterment of the other person. And then the business, the owner is going to love that aspect, and you guys are going to be the best team out there. Like, that's military 1-on-1, trusting the guy that has your back, right? And trusting he has yours as well. And so I really like that position, because a lot of people don't. Yeah. And part of remote sales, partially being a lone wolf too. Let's be honest. I'm a little bit of a lone wolf myself, and yep. And it is that balancing, but that's again where that communication comes in play. If I don't talk to you for a couple of days, you still know that everything I'm doing is for your betterment first. And that's huge. And I think it takes away a lot of the bickering of like, oh my gosh, they filled my calendar with 4 people, all 4 of them no-showed. They're just doing it on purpose to fill the KPIs. Right? Like, no, man, like that's not it. And I think when you get in that negative headspace, that can really damage your role as a setter. Yeah. As well. And let me ask you a question. Let's say I bring you on, let's say you're being a setter for my team. We're starting to expand, and I go, Will, so you've been crushing it for me. I love what you do. I'm going to bring on 2 new setters. They don't have any experience, but I know them as people, and I want to give them a chance of bettering their life. If you started managing them, what are the first 2 things you would do to make sure that they become successful within the next 30 to 60 days?
Yeah. No, yeah. The first things I would do is first off, connect with them and just learn who they are as people, what their values are, what their style is, how they communicate, just to understand them, just like I would with a prospect, to understand their situation, what they're looking for. Then once I get an idea of who they are and what will work best for them, then like we were saying earlier in the conversation, helping them with the process that will work best for them. How can I, through my experiences, be able to synthesize that into something that's going to be compatible for them? Because there's a million ways to do sales. There really is. There's just you can navigate a closing call in a ton of different ways, a setting call in a ton of different ways. Obviously, there's a certain amount of ways to do it with integrity, because sometimes old school sales, it's just like, you can make 10K a month, but it's blood money. So like, is it really worth it, right? Yeah. So you got it from integrity standpoint, there's a certain way of doing it, but the process and the way of doing it, there's so many different ways of doing it. So just understanding who they are, and then from there, seeing what's the best fit for them, and being able to convert my own experiences and what I've done to help them and what that's going to work for them. And on a side note, because I know you were talking about how sales is involved with, military, kind of militaristic characteristics, discipline, leadership. I totally agree. I've been fortunate to, my dad, he's a retired colonel out of the Marine Corps. So I've been able to learn a lot about, leadership and
Wow.
great military characteristics from him. But in addition to that, I was able to achieve the rank of Eagle Scout as well through the Boy Scouts of America. So understanding leadership, management capability, having another person's interest as the priority over my own, and coming from a place of trustworthiness and being able to help another person out, whether it's in a community or a team or a squad, whatever it is, being able to, through my own endeavors, see how I can best serve them. That's the priority, because if I'm able to help another person out, get what they're looking for, I'm gonna eventually find what I'm looking for as well.
First off, can you please tell your dad thank you for his service?
Absolutely.
That's it's an honor, and obviously he's dedicated his whole life to doing that, and that's an unrepayable thank you.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, Scott.
With building out a process and kind of making it uniquely your own. You kind of said at the very beginning, hey, I just followed the process. It took me to number one. How much has your process changed and evolved over the past 2 years?
Oh, it's changed a lot. Yeah. So, in terms of that first role I was on, what I wanted to do was, like I was mentioning earlier, I just wanted to see how I can just hop on and really just come from a place of intake. How can I learn their process? What are they currently doing? What sales calls have they done before? And it just really internalize that. Okay, this is how they've been doing it. Okay, let's see how I can implement this and that. And once I started implementing it, I started making small pivots and changes based on feedback, based on my own my own way of communication, my own way of having conversations. And honestly, also through failing. Sometimes I was on a call and I said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing. And the call, I blew the call. To my memory, it wasn't anything rude or anything bad in that sort of way, but sometimes I was just like navigating the wrong way and they would lose interest or something like that, something like that. So, but through that, being able to just have that kind of that entrepreneurial spirit of like, how can I innovate this? How can I do better? How can I learn and apply and improve? Those are the things that I did in that offer. And that's what's been going on in this offer too, because, like I onboarded, my first day was June 1st, but, learning their offer and learning how they do things, it's taken me, I'm still learning now. Even today, I was on a meeting with them. They're like, hey, Will, you're doing great, man. Let's see how we can do a little better though. Let's see what things you can do with your process, your framework, your, being able to navigate the call. Let's see how you can do better. So just each day, just seeing how I can improve and implement new things and make those mental connections of like, how can I do this better? It's just a day-by-day process, but overall, yeah, from that first offer to now to where it's going to be, on this offer or when I become a closer or whatever, it's a constant improvement and constant.
Or 20 years from now, right?
Or 20 years, exactly. So,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
Sorry for cutting you off, but I think
no worries.
One of the big thing about a process, that so many don't have a process, and therefore it's the analogy I always use of grabbing a handful of spaghetti and just chucking it a wall and see what sticks. And you can't improve your ability, your skills, if you don't have a process in place, because you can't be tracking what works and what doesn't and what changes. And the fact that you do that naturally and you've been doing that this whole time also speaks a lot of who you are, because so many other people, it's kind of, they just go in and it's just tell me what to do. And it's almost like they're just a recorder. And I think that's one big difference between anybody that's a necessity is, hey, how much can you invent? How much can you innovate? How much can you improve? How much can you optimize as you're going through this yourself through your process? Because every offer you hop on, again, personality is a little bit different. The marketing is a little bit different. The offer is a little bit different. The process when people, the prospect comes to you is a little bit different. So how are you able to pivot and change what you already know to be really successful when you go from a different offer to different offer? Because it's not the same questions. It's not that there's a lot of little pieces there. And so if you wouldn't have been doing this whole time, it's almost like starting a new job at some cases.
Yeah.
Right? Looking at getting into remote space, you were going to college. What were you going to college for?
Yeah, so I graduated May 11th with a history degree. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I was with a history degree and an entrepreneurship minor. So I enjoy entrepreneurship and I enjoy history. And some people are like, man, that's quite the mix. And he was like, and I just think to myself, man, you don't even know I'm remote sales too.
Well, and in reality, you take Warren Buffett, right? And they talk about how he reads financial charts from like 30 years ago.
Yep.
Right. Because history repeats itself. You can learn a lot from history.
Absolutely.
And it's one of the reasons why I'm a firm believer in, finding someone successful, learning what they did. You can speed up your results. It's better to follow in your footsteps. Now, also speaking about being a lone wolf, I'm also one of those. I like to make my own trail sometimes too. But for the most part, I like looking at systems, the process, and how can I improve this? And it doesn't always work, but that's just where my brain kind of goes. And so the history doesn't shock me, actually. Entrepreneurship doesn't shock me at all either. Did you expect to graduate and be in the remote sales space, or what did you expect to be doing once you graduated college?
Yeah, so when I really started getting traction a couple of years back in this space and continued to network, continued to see how I can improve my content and being able to serve people in this space, it became more and more appealing to really be a part of this. Because, it's like, obviously, like I got into the space with some of the marketing out there that like you can make, 5 figures in 90 days and all you got to do is this and that. And, it's more than that. Just like with any venture or any business, any opportunity, you got to put in the time, you got to put in the work.
You do.
But what I really love about this space in particular, it's just the ability to connect with people worldwide. Like remote sales, I've been able to connect with people across North America, people in South America, Asia, Europe, Australia, you name it. Worldwide, I've connected with people. And I'm turning 22 this coming Saturday. But as a almost 22-year-old, there's just no way I would have been able to have something like that go on in my life as long as, I was able to. Sorry, I'm getting something real.
No worries. Well, it's funny you kind of talked about that because I'm the exact same way. I love meeting new people. I love talking with new people. I've talked to someone on every single continent on the planet except for the Antarctica. And to be able to connect with some of the people I never would have been able to come across them and have them in my life if it wasn't for the online remote sales space. And it is huge. And so that's something obviously very attractive to you then.
Yeah, just being able to connect with people and see how I can provide value and that grand level has been really unique to be able to do that and just see how I can help. But in addition to that, just sales, like I was saying earlier, sleazy sales, that needs to be gone. That old school, that doesn't work with people anymore. And but being able to come from a consultative approach and see how I can, help people out and improve myself and just improve my communication. I mean, that's what I've really loved about sales in general, and putting it in this remote medium made it even more appealing for me.
And the sales piece, it really feeds my internal coaching itch I kind of have, because a sales call, it's much like when I've coached somebody to, whether it be weight loss or, mindset stuff. You're guiding them so they make the best decision for the results they want. And sometimes there's plenty of people, let's be honest, like so many of us could be in a different place. We all know there's things that we do that we hold ourselves back. And there's opportunities that we could have taken that we didn't, we regret.
Yep.
And so when we are speaking to somebody about something, what truly, understanding that person, what is going to be best for them, and making this decision, is this going to be what's best for them going forward, and truthfully kind of helping them sometimes get out of their own way.
Yep.
Hey, this is what you're looking for. We are the perfect vehicle for this. This is why. And then if the natural fear stuff kicks in, how do you overcome that and work them through to come outside of that fear and be like, let's go and do it, right? And it's kind of like you go, hey, I want to be a closer. Well, maybe not. Let's spend some time and coach you over that fear and let's go. Right? Or clients when, hey, I need to lose 100 pounds. I haven't done anything for 10 years. Like, that's a fearful thing. Like, how do you get someone to overcome that much fear and doubt that they have, knowing that they need to do something to take the 100 pounds off? That's a very powerful thing. It's a very rewarding thing, and meet people across the world that I never would have met, having relationships with people I call as friends across the planet that I never would have met, coaching people to make the best decisions for their life and seeing them take their life or their business to a step that they never would have got without meeting me. And then also, obviously, the freedom that we have kind of working remotely.
Absolutely.
And there's a financial piece that is really good as well, right? And so it's a very good job if you get good at it. Now,
absolutely.
You and I both know in the space, it can also be a bloodbath out there.
Yeah.
What's one of the things that you would tell a new person coming into the remote sales space, if they want to be a setter or closer, it doesn't matter? What's one thing you would tell them to really watch out for to make sure that in 90 days they're not regretting the decision?
Great question. So, as you were kind of hinting at earlier in our conversation, there are certain opportunities out there, or there's certain roles out there that there's kind of the term 10% entrepreneur, meaning when they hop on, they're like, yeah, you can make 10K, no worries. Just bring in 100K in revenue this month. And they're like, oh, okay. But it's one of those things, like, sometimes they don't have the marketing in place. Sometimes they don't have the lead flow there. They expect these individuals to go out and do the things. So they're doing the business, but for 10%. And that's where kind of like a lot of the burn comes from with some certain sales reps. They're like, I truly want to hop on a good offer, help them out. I feel like, regardless of experience or not, I'll learn the process. I will be a good team player. But they end up on these offers and they're like, yeah. So I would say, just do vetting, through your networking, through your, connecting with different business owners and opportunities. Be able to, go through the process of having conversations and really learn about the business, learn about their processes, learn about who's on the offer, learn about if they have good fulfillment or not. Sometimes there's big businesses out there that have no fulfillment, and some people are making good money, but as we've been talking about throughout the whole call, Scott, it's about the integrity factor. If there's no integrity there, it's blood money. So being able to just vet out good offers, is really, really important. Find if they have revenue, find a good revenue, find if they, their team's being successful. And if you were to join the team, are they getting results that you would want? And if you need help with vetting and stuff like that, I mean, there's great people in the space to connect with that will help you out and point you in the right direction. As we know, it comes back to a place of being able to network with people, being able to get your name out there, and being able to provide your value to the space.
Yep. The networking is key, which is, and you said at the very beginning of the call too, like JD Daly, Hunter, all those guys at Undeniable Closer, right? Like, for a new rep coming in, like, their offer, what they do, I mean, it's going to be a game changer for anybody. And it's
Absolutely.
really interesting, how many people out there struggle for so long or jump into something and give up, where I truly believe that Undeniable Closer is one of those things that if you're getting into the space and you're choosing to do so, it really should be the only space and person you really reach out and join for multiple reasons, from the networking to the personal development, the skills development, to really understand the space. They would have access to people like yourself. There's tons of people in the community, right? I'm in that community. I think also as a sales rep, depending where you're at, like if you're brand new to space, like you were just out of college, that makes a perfect sense. Now, let's say you were a seasoned salesperson, 15 years into door knocking, doing all this type of stuff. Is it still a good option? 100%. But maybe you might want to go hire a different coach to just work on a very specific, because Bill Walsh at the Objection Box, he's a coach of mine. I think he's one of the best when it comes down to objections in those pieces, but they do two very different things.
Yes.
And so I think as a sales rep, like where are you as a person, development, on a skill development, what you're looking for? That's a really key aspect. You also brought up a really interesting thing on, the offer aspect, right? Hey, a business owner, yeah, you can make 10K here. Okay, well, if you're making 10%, that means the business has to bring in 100K revenue. When was the last time you did 100K of revenue? Well, we never have. What? When was the last time? What have you been doing? Oh, we're about 30K in revenue. So you've never done 100K in revenue, so I can never hit my goals, right? Unless I essentially triple your revenue as a setter. So understanding that piece. Now, an interesting thing in the online space, there are certain business owners that really don't care what the rep does. And what I mean by that is, if you have 2 offers or 3 offers, they don't care, right? Hit your numbers for me, that's all that matters. You have other ones, nope, I won't let you work for anybody else. You have to show up to 3 business meetings every single day, and you better be constantly messaging with me, and you can't do anything, like you got a 9-to-5 job. 2 very different owners, 2 very different positions.
Yes.
And I think, me having been a person that's launched my own online business from the very beginning and grow it, and helping others do the same as well, there's a gap sometimes. You can find a perfect offer, perfect owner, perfect fulfillment, something you love, perfect commission, but they're at that point of scaling from 30 to 100K a month. So when you first start, might not be that magical job that you're looking for. And I think transparency in this space needs to come out a lot more, because I'll tell you what, I'm on an offer right now that I'm not taking any calls for. Know why?
No, why?
Because they're not running any ads. Know why they're not running ads?
Why?
Because we're building out the front end marketing right now, because it offers really good. He's a really great business owner. And in the long run, I see it being an offer that's going to be amazing for me to be on. Right.
Yes.
And we were running ads last month. They tanked. I took like 3 calls a week. Every person was completely unqualified, completely wrong. But that's part of marketing. That's part of business owning.
Yes.
A lot of sales reps don't understand that. And there's time you might be on a killer offer and it tanks all of a sudden. Nobody knows why.
Yep.
And I see so many sales reps jump ship and then knock that business owner going, that's not fair. Something out of their complete other control. You're right. And so understanding that piece, and I think there have been some business owners out there that have been burned by reps in the past because they came in and jumped shipped, and all of a sudden, dude, I thought this guy was part of the team. I thought I was gonna be here long term, someone I could depend on. My business was going good, all of a sudden they're gone, and all of a sudden my revenue tanks by 50%. That's not a good place to be in either. And so there's a whole balance right now that's going with this online space as it grows. There's these intangibles. You can have closers fighting setters, marketing fighting sales teams, owners fighting the sales teams, and everything all the way around. You have all these pieces and moving parts where there's a lot of middle opportunity that I think are some of the best opportunity. People try to get to this top opportunity, and then once they get there, it's like the person that wants to be the manager until they become the manager and realize, oh crap, I hate this job. And I think a lot of people strive, and if you would find 2 offers that were in the middle, you'd probably be a lot happier, work a lot less hours, a lot less stress. You would probably have a lot more freedom and have better financial where you want it to be, rather than going for a top tier offer and just struggling your way up to the top. So I think there's a lot of variables there, being whether you're going to be a closer to really do. And it's one of the things of why I think it's so important having a network around you of people that are in it, have been through it, know what to look for, know where to point in the right direction, and sometimes sit down and have that real conversation with you of, okay, what is it you really want? Now let's really look at that. And it's one thing that I love, that Hunter and JD do with people. And I think that's sometimes the biggest, game changer for a lot of people of, let's get some clear intentions here. Right. And that's that entrepreneur mindset. Let's get some clear intentions of what this is going to look like, and let's build this out and go. And once you have that, I mean, it opens up a lot of doors that you couldn't even see.
Absolutely.
So if we look at the next year of your life, where do you see a year from now, Will? Where do you want to be?
Yeah, a year from now, I'm thinking about being a successful advisor or closer on a great offer, where I'm able to help out half a dozen people a week, being able to regardless, I mean, hopefully it's good close rate, right? But regardless, being able to point them in the right direction after those deeper level conversations. And like, we were saying earlier, just being on a great team where I'm able to work closely with the setters, fellow closers, business owner, and just really be a part of a great offer. Because, once I have those things in place and I'm helping people out and bringing in the revenue or, bringing in the income I'm looking for and that sort of things, that's going to allow me to give me more freedom to go out, enjoy life, feel fulfilled, and repeat the process. My background here is Italy. I traveled to Italy with the family a couple of years back, and we took this photo. So, being able to travel is a big thing for me that, I'd love to start doing it again. I'm based on the East Coast of the US. Something I want to do is travel out west and a little bit more and see what's out there.
Beautiful.
And that sort of thing. But yeah, at the end of the day, though, it's a domino effect. It starts with me improving, being the best version of myself for myself and others, and implementing those things into this space, into this industry, on the call and off the call. And if I'm able to do that, then I'm able to achieve that financial time and location freedom I'm looking for.
So we've talked a lot about you starting and setting, your process, how you went from just starting setting to hitting the top of leaderboard in a few short weeks by just following process, now maximizing that, being very successful, graduating college, a lot of key aspects of what makes you a very good setter, amazing network, how you've kind of gotten here, possibly being a closer in the next year. What type of offer really do you like, right? Because some people, hey, I love B2C. Some people, I love B2B. Some people, hey, I want to be an e-com. Other people, it's I wanna sell cupcakes, right? Like there's a wide range there. Have you figured out like where you want to be, or what?
Yeah, another great question. Honestly, I'm still figuring out as I go. In terms of niches, business consulting and coaching for similar reasons to you, I've really enjoyed, working in, or and they seem appealing because they're great spaces to allow fellow growth-minded individuals who are entrepreneurial, have a business, really, busy professional, but is looking to take their career to the next level. Those are other individuals I would like to connect with, to just be able to help them achieve and their goals and what they're looking for, and through get them that coaching or get them that consulting that they've been looking for a long time, and see the results of that really be in great fulfillment for them. In terms of like the specifics of businesses, I'd love to be a part of a business doing 100K in revenue a month. They have a couple of people on their offer doing those high 4-figure, low 5-figure months in income. The team is they're growing and they're expanding, but at the same time they have really found a good foundation and a good base to learn the offer and helping people out, and just somewhere I'm able to grow. Somewhere I'm able to actually challenge myself each day and keep myself humble. I think one of the things that I've been really seeing, if I can also implement as well, is even though I've been in the space for 2 years now, over 2 years, almost 2.5, I still want to have a beginner's mindset. come in.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of now considering this last month or so my really like full transition into the space. So I want to kind of treat myself that this is my first time in the space. Connecting with people. How can I come from a place of a fresh mindset to help someone out or connect with them, learn something new? Coming from that place of humility and that beginner's mindset, I think is also going to help, because it's going to allow me not to, get complacent, but always be seeking for something to improve on.
It's a great mindset to have. It's always served me really well too. Every conversation I have, I know there's something I can learn from this conversation, right? And so whether it's someone I've talked to 100 times in my life or the first time, every conversation, am I open to actually learning something new? And that's key, because I think it does keep you in, hey, I'm always willing to learn. And that's the biggest thing about this industry. It changes and can change quickly. And you can't pivot if you're not ready to learn. And same thing with an offer. An offer might be going great. You might think it's perfect. And then all of a sudden, one day it's not perfect anymore. Either it's not what you like, or maybe the owner decides I'm shutting down business, right? I've known some guys that have been in offers for like 5 years. And next thing about the business owner just shows up on a Friday, like, hey guys, we're done. Like, what? Right. So always having that growth mindset and willing to learn, I think is really, really, really important. So Will, I want to, again, it's been an honor, man, to have you on. And I want to say
so great. Thank you, Scott.
And I can't wait for our friendship to develop further. And I can't wait to see all the success over the next 6 months, couple of years, and where you take yourself. And I'm always here if you need anything as well. And I know that we'll be connecting going forward. So
absolutely, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Really, the honor's mine. Thank you for inviting me on.
You're very welcome. Have a good rest of your day.
Same to you. Take care.